Hi everyone, this is Sasha from Women's Fight News, and of course I'm joined with Susie from Women's Fight News.
Ah,
Susie, how are you this week?
good. It's been a while since we've done a live, and there's quite a bit happening. So I'm looking forward to tonight and talking about.
Yeah, it's been a weird, last month was weird. So I just felt like nothing was happening. So obviously we got the Clarissa Shields, Savannah Marshall announcement. And of course I'm super excited, but we knew it was coming. We already knew they were fighting. We knew that Mayer and Baumgartner were on it. We knew where it was and we knew the date. So of course I'm still excited. But apart from that, not a lot happened, did it?
Not in that press conference, no, because like you were saying, we kind of knew it was like this
Yeah.
secret, and then also we kind of knew that probably Mayer and Baumgartner was going to be on the undercard. I think the only thing that we didn't know, which I think you mentioned before, was that it was going to be an all-female card because we didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. And we still don't know the undercard for that yet.
Yeah, full undercard, no.
I've got my predictions. But yeah, so apart from that announcement, not obviously people were fighting, but there wasn't tons going on. But now I feel like it's about to get busy. Obviously, we've just had that weekend of fights, which we'll talk about. Weekend of fights coming up, more fights going to be announced. So I feel like we're back on track. But I
Yeah,
think I said to you before, it's weird because this time, the last couple of years, we've had fight camp. So
yeah.
I don't know whether I'm having like post-fight camp blues, but I've just not been feeling it the last few weeks.
Quite Cam, I'm so gutted that they're not doing it this year.
Yeah, because you went last year, didn't you?
So good. Yeah, it was just such a festival vibe being there. I'd definitely go again.
Well, he did say he's going to do it next year. He might just be letting his grass heal. I know Glastonbury do that every few years, so I don't know. But he did say he would like to do it again, but it looked amazing. So I hope he does so I can go.
Yes.
So obviously tons of fights on. We're going to start with the Wasserman Boxing show up in Newcastle.
Yeah.
The card in general, I actually just genuinely enjoyed. There was loads of really decent scraps on. I really enjoyed it. Let's start with Lisa Whiteside, who, God love her, I genuinely think she's one of the most patient human beings in the world. She's had a tough couple of years. I mean, it started off great. Obviously, she had a fantastic amateur career. She turned pro. Then, of course, she had a son, which is fantastic. And then she was like, right, I'm coming back. And then had, I think it was a shoulder injury that she had.
Mhm.
And it's just been a long time coming for her, really. It felt like it was her debut again.
Yeah,
Um,
nearly 2 years, isn't it?
2.5, I think. I think it's been a long time, like a long, long time. And then obviously she signed actually to Pro Bellum.
Mm.
Because I was really confused. I remember I knew she was fighting. I'm thinking, are the two shows going on in Newcastle? I was so confused at first, but obviously she is signed with Pro Bellum. I don't know what shows they've got coming up, if any, at the minute. So at least they've got her a fight. But considering she's been out nearly 3 years, she looks so good. I was so impressed. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean it's first round knockdown.
Nice.
So getting there straight away. She
Yeah.
looked. But no, considering she's been out for so long, she did a great job.
Yeah.
You know, super bantam. Yeah, no, it was a solid performance from her, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, like you say, first round knockdown. I genuinely believe if she didn't want the rounds, we would have stopped her. We, not me and her, but she would have stopped her. I was there supporting on the TV, so it was a joint effort. But I think because she wanted the rounds, because obviously she's not fought for a very long time, it went the distance. But for me, she was fantastic. Obviously, she had that big right hand. She got the knockdown, but her uppercut left hook was so good. She pulled that off like over 20 times. It was so good.
Yeah, I've seen people writing on Twitter about that they haven't seen many clean uppercuts.
But it was just so good. And like considering she's been out that long, her timing was it was really good. Someone was like, oh, she got hit a little bit. Yeah, she got pinged a little bit. Nothing that would hurt her. When you know nothing's coming back, that's going to hurt you. You risk a little bit more. So, I'm sure she steps up. She obviously had a nasty head clash, and I saw an interview post fight, and she had the biggest bruise all on her face, and that was from another head clash. But she took it on the chin, didn't she? She's done quite well.
Yeah, yeah, you haven't seen her complaining about it.
No, she was actually like still really smiling this post-fight interview. She was like, "Oh well, it is what it is," type thing, and I was like, "Fair play." So hopefully when the cut heals, she can get back out soon, and I know she wants to push on for titles. And I'm not gonna lie, she actually looks ready. She actually looks ready to compete right at that top level straight away.
Yeah, no, I'm impressed because obviously she's been really pushing for these fights for a while. Once you got healed and back in the
Yeah.
game, and yeah, I don't see why not get in there, get straight up towards the title shots. Why not? Because she definitely proved herself that she's ready for it now.
Yeah, definitely. So, and Super Bantam,
Yeah,
great division. You've got Ellie Scottney. I know when I interviewed Lisa, she mentioned that, she would love to fight Ellie Scottney. Obviously, they've got massive respect for each other, but she presumes Ellie will have a title soon, which
yeah,
looks like it's on the card. So that would be a great fight if that could be made.
yeah.
But yeah, just really great fight.
And you got Nina Hughes, who's just become the Commonwealth WBO International Super Bantam champion. So I feel like quite a lot's going on in that division at the moment.
So good. Yeah, we're going to talk about Nina in a minute because she was, I mean, actually, that fight in general was just amazing. So you've got both of them in the mix, and yeah, it's an exciting division, especially domestically.
Yes.
Imagine if we had the British title.
Did you see the tweets? Apparently they have actually they are willing to do that title now, the British board. But it has to be for the right talent. So as long as you apply for that, so if a promotion decides they got a good fight and a good matchup, they will do it.
Do you believe that?
I do. I do.
Why has it not happened yet?
I think it's because of the boom, isn't it? That they've been waiting for the boom, and I feel like now that they can see it's here to stay. It's not
Yeah.
just bad. Women's boxing's on the rise. It's been a history-making year, isn't it? Why not ride on and go for it?
I reckon part of me is like, I hope it's true.
Mm.
And straight away, I mean, I tweeted about it the other week, the lightweight division would be my first pick for a British title. Part of me also thinks, I bet there's like a couple of dinosaurs who have just said it and now they're like, shit, we might actually have to do that now. I'm like a bit gutted. I mean, yeah, I mean, you've got Super Bantam and lightweight straight away, them two divisions, very, very easy to
Yeah.
make a British title fight. And there's tons of other divisions, but they're the two that stand out where you could make one tomorrow. So realistically, if that's the case and it's true, we have to see that by the end of the year then, because there's
Yeah.
no excuse.
100%. 100%. That's why I was acting in some of the promotions. Sure, it makes sense to make these fights.
Yeah, I mean, I liked my idea. It's very unrealistic, but I'd love a female boxer series with the winner getting the British title because I just want something spectacular for the first female British title. I don't want it to be on a small hall show. No disrespect to small hall shows because I love them, but I want the first British title fight to be like an absolute spectacle. And it's a shame. I mean, we don't know. We could be surprised, but how good would it be if it was on the Shields Marshall card?
Yeah.
That would be perfect, but I don't know. I mean, they could surprise us, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
That would be pretty amazing.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of British titles, this is one that obviously Jordan Barker Porter, she's the one that I always tip a lot that I feel like that's the level she's at now. That would be a perfect fight for her. But so Jordan Barker Porter, Bec Connolly, lightweight. Bec has fought at lightweight before. I don't know if she'll fight at it again. I know she said before, like, oh, she's got power in this division. After she did say she struggled to make the weight. I am jealous. I wish I had a problem of gaining weight. I would like imagine that. How's she struggling to hit lightweight? That's ridiculous. I was more jealous.
She's like a machine, though, isn't she? She doesn't stop.
She doesn't stop. I'd love to know how many calories she was having to eat because I know Amanda Serrano says the same. I think they train that much that it's really hard to go up. I mean, I don't have that problem, but I love the fight because I was really impressed with Jordan.
Yeah,
it was her best fight. Jordan, I think, can be guilty at times of getting off to a slow start. The last two, possibly three, but definitely the last two fights, she's lost the first round, in my opinion, but then cracks on and is brilliant.
Yeah.
And it's hard when you've only got 2-minute rounds and 6 rounds. Again, this was a 6-rounder, but she started brilliantly.
But the first round was great.
Yeah. That's the best she started, and then she went better from there. and obviously got the stoppage. She was accurate. She looked technically good. Like, she gets better every fight, I think, Jordan. My complaint actually with that fight is the commentators. I was getting really agitated in the sense of, I don't know if they didn't know enough about Jordan possibly or what, but they kept repeating themselves saying, oh, she needs to step on the gas now. She needs to step on the gas. I thought she handled the pace very well. I thought she managed the pace of the fight well. She dictated it all. She wasn't just throwing shots for the sake of it. I thought her shot selection was very good. And then she got a stoppage in round 5.
Yeah.
I felt like the commentator, I don't know what they were expecting, but I don't know. I think they just like deflated the fight a little bit, in my opinion, which I thought was a shame.
Yeah, it's a shame because I completely agree with you, because straight away from the first round, she was so accurate. She wasn't getting control. Like you said, she went at her own pace. She didn't get dragged into that fight that we know Bec likes, which is just a brawl on the inside. She didn't allow that to happen.
Yeah.
She was straight, great headshot straight away in that first round. And like you say, what more than that? Really?
Yeah. I thought it was pretty perfect performance, considering I think Jordan now is 5-1. So that was a 6th fight. She doesn't have a huge amateur pedigree at all. So she's literally learning on the job. I don't know what else you'd expect from her. I thought her coach was great in the corner. Like, the advice was perfect, and then Jordan would go out and do it. For me, if I was Jordan, I'd walk away and go, that was my best, definitely a best fight, and very solid performance. And I'd just mute the commentators because I just didn't particularly agree with what they were saying. I don't know if they'd ran out of things to say. I don't know.
No, but I agree with you. You should be very pleased with that performance, because there's other fighters that have had a lot more experience that have been drawn into Bec's fights and been not, whereas George Gordon was accurate and, didn't get drawn into that. So
100%. So great fight. I always rave about Jordan because I like her as a whole boxer. I think she uses social media well. I think she's like the perfect package, actually, is like a new current boxer, because social media is such a big part of it that we've seen. And I think she's a very good ticket seller. But I must say, her friends must be skint at the minute, because she has been fighting nonstop, and I think she's done like two fights in like 3 weeks. So her friends must be like, oh my God, if you're having a break for a few months. But yeah. But she's got great support, and I do rate it because I like how she improves. I like the pace of her career. I say that all the time. But I think after that performance, I would love to see her signed down to something like Wasserman Boxing. I'd love to see her on the TV now, and probably getting the attention that she deserves, because I think now she's at the right stage in her career. She's got them learning fights under her belt now. Yeah,
definitely.
Another fight that happened. This was in Bournemouth, very far, too far for me.
Down there.
I must say, their public workout on the beach looked so good. Yeah. Really good idea. I like that. And the weather was lovely.
Brilliant, I thought. And they had the weather for it, which is perfect.
Yeah. So I loved all of that. That was really good. We had Caroline Dubois on. Yeah. She won. We knew she would win. She got a 3rd round stoppage. I thought it'd be 1st round, but I was close enough, so I'm going to take it. I think she dropped her in the 1st round, so I got half a point for that. It was what it was, wasn't it? She got the job done. She'll move on. I presume she's going to fight on September 10th. And then she'll crack on. There's not much to say about that one, I don't think.
No, because she did everything, what everyone expected. She had a bit of stick on media saying that she should be having a higher caliber of opponent, which, do you know what, I'm mixed on, because in some ways, yes, I'd like to have seen her in with a better opponent, because like you said, what more can you say about that fight than it was just almost an over fight, almost a bit more ring experience, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. However, we are guilty, I think, on social media of comparing the women to the men, as in putting them high, like, we put a spotlight on the women more because we know the women more, whereas the men can go under the radar and they can have like 10 fights before we see them more, whereas the women, they have 2 fights, they're like expected to suddenly be world level, and if they're not the best, then they're terrible. It's a poor mismatch. And I think, well, no, they should be allowed to develop. They should be allowed to have those learning fights. it's just not fair, really. And I think people are guilty of putting too much pressure on the women.
100%. I think because, like you say, there is less of them, so we know them more. But I was a bit like, I don't have a lot to say about the fight. Caroline done exactly what she needed to do. Like I say, I think she'll move on and she'll step up when she needs to. I don't like when people criticize the fighter, because I highly doubt it's Caroline Dubois going, oh, she's the one I want. I'm sure Caroline wants to step in with the best of the best. Like, it's not her fault. I don't know what she would have learned from that fight, but I was thinking about that. Like, she's probably been learning things in the gym, so she's been able to put that into practice for a couple of rounds. Well, there you go. It's a bit of a payday. She moves on. But, and we'll talk about Sandy Ryan in a minute, everyone says she stepped up too quick. So it's like, I never get it. There's nothing you can do. It's never going to be perfect. It's a third fight. I don't know what we're all expecting. Is she going to go in Katie Taylor? No. Like, what are we all expecting her to do? Yeah. She's doing the exact blueprint of every single boxer.
Yeah.
Whether she's an Olympian or not, she is a brand new, fresh, professional boxer. So she is having the blueprint of going through Journey Women, and then she'll gradually step up and gradually step up. I do not know what people were expecting.
Completely agree.
And she got the win.
Yeah, and I love her body. She does look powerful with those body shots.
The nasty, the mean.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to take one.
I just can't get visions of, because I was ringside when she did the media workout in Cardiff.
Oh, yeah.
Right, when you're right close. And just on the pads, I was thinking, this girl can hit hard,
Yeah. She's so strong, isn't she? And she's, I think everyone's got, to her, it's a compliment. Everyone criticizing her opponent is supposed to hear it's a compliment, because we expect bigger things from her already. Yeah. But, everyone tips her, of course she's going to be world champion. We know that. But is she going to be the next, like, Katie Taylor? Possibly, is she probably is going to be the new face of boxing in time, though. Because this is why I'm never a fan of people comparing, because Katie Taylor was probably taking on a very similar opponent when she was 3-0, so 2-0 at the time. Do you know what I mean? So it's like people are going, oh, well, she'll be like the next Katie Taylor. Well, she's not yet. She's not going to go in with Amanda Serrano, is she? So we've got to, like, I just think people have to chill out a little bit and let them just go through it. And, bearing in mind when they turn over, they have so many more fights. Look at Sky. She's had about 100 fights in like 4 months. So it's better, it'd be better to keep active and maybe have slightly lower level opponents, but you keep an active, keep turning over, than stepping up too quick and then you're only having 1 or 2 fights in a year. So, but I think we're going to see her in September. Anyway, I'd be very surprised if she's not on that card.
Yeah, I hope so. Should be good. Yeah.
This fight, I like this fight as soon as it was announced.
Me too. The fact that they stepped up to do this fight so early on, a 50-50 type fight on paper, both great prospects, undefeated. I love the fact that they both just said, yeah, let's go for it, let's fight. So do you know what? Both of them have come out as winners to me.
Yeah. I was going to say the same. Neither of them are, well, Tysie's not lost, because one incredible experience for both of them. Super close fight. I would give neither the win also, but it was very close. But just a great experience for both of them. And this is what I want to see more. And I know I say it all the time. I know Tysie said, oh, I want the rematch. I don't want the immediate rematch. Can we have it in 12 months' time when they're at a different stage in the career? That excites me now, because we've got something to talk about. They fought each other, I think. Nina's now 3-0, Tysie's 4-1. Very early on in the career. Imagine when they're in like 10, 12 fights in, and then they fight again. That's what I want to see. And I hope we see more of these fights, because it was so good. It was such a good fight.
I love it. Like you say, it's so nice to see these early domestic fights. Yeah. And people shouldn't be afraid to do these fights and to get that, to lose their zero, because really, like you say, they aren't losing anything by it. They're gaining their experience. They're bringing up their profile, creating a future. So, like you said, it's a huge win for everybody.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, Nina talked about 2 titles, one being the Commonwealth, which that's great. Again, she's obviously in Super Bantam, another great division. Obviously, we've got Lisa there, got loads there. Again, Nina's very good, and I think she wants to push on quite quickly. And again, she's very ready. She is very, very ready to like start getting to that top level, and she's more than good enough, Nina Hughes.
And I know that although she's bantam, I know she's quite keen on bantam as well. So she's basically ready on any challenge. I mean, said even superfly. So literally any opportunity up superfly, bantams, super bantam, bantam, superfly. She's there.
And that's the benefit when you can jump them weight divisions. You're not waiting for an opportunity. You can go and get them a lot more, can't you? When you've got them 3 divisions, and all of them, they're stacked, but they're open at the same time. There's definitely opportunities in each division. Yeah. You know, it's not like if you look at lightweight, you've got Katie Taylor's undisputed. You're kind of like, that's me done until she retires type thing. You know, there's plenty of opportunities in these divisions. And someone like Nina Hughes, I think she'll push on now in that fight. I think she said it was a bit of a scrappy fight. As a fan, I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm sure, you know, fights like that as a boxer, I'm sure it's not your perfect fight, but it is because you've had a great dance partner, haven't you? You know, Tysie's not come to make it easy. And I think, was it majority decision? I think one judge had a draw. And then
the other 2 to
Yeah, and I think it was a good few rounds, wasn't it? But it was definitely close.
It was 95-95, 97-93, and 96-94.
Yeah, and I would have said probably 96-94. I think was fair. But like I said, I'd love to see that fight in maybe 12, 18 months. I don't want to see the immediate... I don't like these immediate rematches necessarily, unless the hype's there. So Taylor Serrano, Shields, Marshall. I'm not the biggest fan of an immediate rematch. I just think I don't know. I just think you can create more of a story when there's a bit of time in between. So I don't want to see the immediate rematch, but I'd love to see it in the future.
Yeah, because like you said, they can go down their own path, develop their own rate, and then together again.
Yeah, and that's so much better. And that sells. There's a story straight away. You're talking about what happened 12 months or 18 months ago, whenever. And then you're talking about what you've done since. And then you got the trash talk straight away because do you know what I mean? My CV is better than yours, like all that. Like, it's just an easier sell, though. I really think that you can create that story so much better than, oh, well, you beat me, so I'll just rematch you now. It's just not going to same grab for me unless it's a robbery or controversial or something. I'm not that keen on these immediate rematches all the time. But yeah, great fight, definitely. Eddie Hearn. I never join these Instagram lives. I don't normally like them. He's always on, isn't he?
Yeah.
I never normally bother. But I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do it. It was like I had a cup of coffee. I wasn't doing anything. And he must have been like, oh, well, this girl, stop asking the same questions, because I kept typing in the same question until he'd answer it. It was like, I just want an answer. And obviously I got huge breaking news. So we're going to start with Katie Taylor. I asked Katie Taylor fight announcement soon. Oh, no, I said Katie Taylor fight announcement. And he said soon. Who would have known? So if I hadn't asked that question, we would never have known that
a dark
some point in the future, Katie Taylor will be fighting. So thanks to me. You're welcome, everyone. But I don't know who Katie's going to fight. I've got a feeling it's going to end up being like a mandatory or something. I think the hype of all the crossover fights is gone. I heard someone said to me, what's her name? Who's she supposed to be fighting that we don't want her to fight? Holly Holm.
Oh yeah, or Cyborg.
Yeah, but I heard with Holly Holm, Dana White's not letting her, and I didn't know she was associated with Dana White. Or am I just completely lost? I don't know. I wasn't sure on that and whether to believe it, but I don't know. I just feel like if it was one of them crossover fights, it would have been announced by now.
Yeah, because they won't have time to build it, won't they?
Yeah. So I just feel like it's going to be a mandatory with the hope that next year it will be the Serrano rematch, which I did ask about, and he said he wants to see it. That's a fight that will happen at Croke Park. So it sounds like that's the only fight he will do at Croke Park, which I was surprised about. But Katie Taylor will not come down to 130 or 126, which is no surprise at all. I was surprised Jake Paul asked for that, but I don't. Is he actually asking, or is he asking just to be a bit funny? Is he expecting it?
No, I think he's just trying to create drama, isn't he? It's what he's good at, isn't he? Just to like get people talking, get the interest flowing.
Yeah, because I mean, we know I'm a big Amanda fan. I only want to see it at lightweight because I only want to see it for all the belts. Amanda, if boxing politics wasn't the way it was, Amanda should be fighting for undisputed in her own weight, but no one will fight. So I don't. Yeah, I only want to see that at lightweight. So.
And let's face it, that fight did not disappoint. It's one of the best fights I've ever seen. So
yeah.
mess with something that's so good. I want to see that fight
again.
So let's not much.
Yeah. And I don't know why, like, I get it's not Amanda's natural weight, but it was a split decision win for Katie. It wasn't like she got battered every round. She nearly knocked her out. So I want to see it. Well, we'll only see it at that weight. Katie Taylor's always said she'll never, ever move down. I only want to see it at that weight anyway. So that's, again, no surprise there, but breaking news still. And Shannon Courtney will be fighting in October.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, presumably the rematch. Mitchell.
I reckon it's going to be a journeywoman. I think it's going to be an 8-rounder. Actually, you know who wants that fight? Bec Connolly.
Okay.
I remember the other week on Twitter, she said she'll have it. She'd be happy to have it.
Bec, bless her. She'll just take on anyone, won't she? Anyway. I mean, I could see them doing that, actually, if they want a warm-up fight for Shannon Courtney.
Yeah, and you know what? It'd be a decent warm-up fight for Shannon, because give Bec a due. I know people want her to retire and all that. I've got mixed emotions. But she doesn't... What I like about her is, I don't like how much she gets hit. I will be honest. I don't like it, obviously. But she comes forward and she does get hit. She's there to be hit, but she doesn't make the fight boring. You get some journeywomen, some journeymen who just are there to spoil. They're there to run. They're there to just survive. I know Bec's not necessarily there to win, but she gives her opposition a decent night to have a good scrap. So it would be an all right fight for Shannon to come back in, because Shannon's been out, nearly a year, is it now? Long time.
Yeah.
Long time. So,
and with Bec, I'd love to see her fight. She's fighting at the top of top of British level, isn't she? Like all the Brits coming through. I'd love to see her fight someone more at the sort of give her a chance to get sort of a British title, that kind of level for Bec. I'd love to see her go into a more fair fight where she's coming to have more of a 50-50 fight or a win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what
I remember when I interviewed her quite a long time ago now, and she said she had a decision. She could either do the small hall shows and try and build up a resume, or she could go where the money is and be on the big platform. And I like Bec, but I think she's made the right decision, because I don't know what her level is. I don't know what her level is to get wins. I think, yeah, of course she could get wins at a certain level, but I don't know if I don't even know if she's British title level. Because if you're looking at, like, say, Super Bantam, well, you've got Nina Hughes and Nina beat her.
Yeah. Because they had for that, so
I don't know where I'd put her. I think financially she's made the right decision, but you mentioned the other when we were talking about the other month, like, she doesn't. If she got paid properly, she wouldn't have to fight all the time.
Yeah,
she's not getting paid properly.
She's great at what she does, like you say. So therefore she's valuable, like you always say, to the to boxing. So therefore she should be paid her value, which is high.
She's very underrated. There's not many people like Bec Connolly in boxing. We've got a couple more coming through, but it's thanks to Bec Connolly. She, like she says, she is the B team, but she's created her own job in the sport. And she does it well. And every boxer has a lot of respect for her, but I don't know if the promotions do. And but she's her own worst enemy, because she still takes the fights.
And I think, there's been a lot of talk about people don't want to see her fighting because they don't like her getting hit. But like she says, she got a license for a reason. They test her. She be okay and everything. But I think a lot of the reason why people don't like it is because she's so likable. People love her. And if you like someone, you want to see them winning. You don't want to see them be the journey person that gets hit.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of it's that,
Yeah.
people just like her too much.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I remember saying the other week, like, we don't see her as a journeywoman, but she is. And I've never sat there and went, oh God, I can't bear how much she's getting hit with another journeywoman, because I know that's their job. With Bec Connolly, I know deep down her job as a journeywoman, but because we all like her, I don't want to call her that. But, she says herself, she's the B, she's the B-side, and she knows what her job is. She turns up. And you know what? She gives her opponents a decent scrap.
Yeah.
And that's why she should be paid more, because there's too many journeywomen who come and they're not, and not just journeywomen, journeymen. And you see someone, you think, I don't know why you've been paid, because they put no effort in. They either run scared, they're not doing anything. They're just there to survive and get paid. At least Bec looks like, she gives it her all, doesn't it? Doesn't she? And that's all you can ask for, isn't it, at the end of the day? But hey ho. But yeah, so I think Shannon could be that fight. Could be. But then I think the early next year, she will rematch Jamie Mitchell. And I don't know if that's the right decision. I really don't.
I feel sorry for Mitchell, because I feel like she's waiting around for this fight. And seen on social media doing MMA training. Is that because she's getting fed up? I don't know.
There's so many good fights to be made in that division. I'm not quite getting, everything feels like very held up. And I don't quite get why. Like, every champion is a very good champion who wants to fight. Yeah, it's like we're all just sitting around waiting. So I'm not really understanding. And surely to God, Jamie Mitchell's not having to wait for Shannon Courtney. I know it's not Shannon's fault she's injured, and my heart goes out to her, because it must be horrendous. Like, it's been nearly a year. It's awful for her, and I do feel for her. But that's not Jamie's fault either. So just like let her get on with it.
Yeah.
And I always say I'm never convinced by Shannon being in that division ever. I'm not convinced. I genuinely thought after this injury she'd move up anyway. So, but she's not.
No.
And I think it's a big ask to be out a year to just have one like warm up fight and then come back and fight Jamie. I don't know how convinced I am by that. I think that's like really risky, because if she does lose, that's like a bit of a sticky situation then. Then she'd have to move up, in my opinion.
Yeah. She'd realize where she is and go back to the drawing.
So, bit of a funny one. Eddie Hearn also mentioned Amanda Serrano, but for slightly different reasons. So he got asked so many times, what do you think about the Jake Paul fight being cancelled? And he must have been like, oh my God, I don't care, because it doesn't affect him. It's like asking, what do you think about your neighbour taking out the bin? I don't know. Like, it's just so irrelevant to him and his life. He was like, but what I'm baffled by is people's reactions on social media. So if you didn't know any better, you would think Jake Paul is the first person in the history to have to cancel a show.
Yeah. And that he's somehow stitching the fighters up like Amanda. Like,
oh, it's all his fault.
I knew he was going to cancel it a week out, and
God, Paul's such a dick. How can he do that? It's not his fault.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, no, totally ridiculous.
And when this is my favourite. People go, Amanda's made a mistake going with Jake Paul. Oh, come on. Like, I'm all over them. Amanda says herself, like, she's just bought a house with cash thanks to Jake Paul. Like, she said that herself, not just, and her manager and someone else, I always forget his name. So it's obviously Jake Paul, Jordan, and some other guy, but thanks to them three. She bought her dream car the other month. She got her highest, she's got a Rolex. She got her highest paid purse thanks to him. She said on Twitter she's more from endorsements this year than she has with all of her purses. And she's made a mistake. I'm sorry. Come on. Because one show got cancelled.
Yeah. He's obviously the best thing that's happened in her career, isn't he? Like, at this point. Because we've all known in boxing Amanda Serrano's value. But the world hasn't known it. Whereas he's just said, here is Amanda, what she is about. And, that's great. That's what you needed. Someone who's high profile, who's going to, promote women's boxing and see the value in it. And that's fantastic. That's why I'm a huge fan of Jake now.
Yeah, never used to be, but now I am.
Yeah.
I mean, she was getting paid. Amanda Serrano is like 7-weight world champion, pound for pound best on par with Katie and Clarissa. She's going to pay like $30,000 for a fight.
Yeah.
By the time you've been taxed, by the time you've paid your percentages to everyone, you're not left with a lot. Camp life is, I know Amanda seems one of them, like she's constantly in camp, but life's expensive. Like, and I think that's all people thought she was worth for some reason. And then Jake Paul comes along. She got like over $1 million for the Katie fight. She's earning a fortune on sponsorships and endorsements. One fight gets cancelled. I remember saying to you, I don't know how bothered she's going to be. I know she wants to fight, but I'd rather be in her position and have one fight cancelled than be earning 30K and really probably coming out with about 10. And my fight goes ahead, but no one cares and no one's really watching. I know what position I'd rather be in.
And she knows it's going to come again. She's with Jake Paul. He's going to arrange, no matter what happens here on out, every fight's going to be whether that's going to be scheduled in Madison Square Garden, whether that's the rematch. She can sit back, know the fight is going to be a great fight, money for everything.
100%. And because this is her natural weight, she can take a fight like next to last minute because she's at that weight constantly. It's actually the higher weights. Obviously, she, like Bec was saying, like she struggles to move up. Outrageous me. But at that weight that she's at, featherweight, like she'll be that now anyway. So she's always gonna fight, always. So I don't really get it. People love to hate Jake Paul, but you've got to appreciate what he's doing. For me, he's like a breath of fresh air. We need someone younger. I mean, what he does in the ring, I'm not overly bothered about. Even though I have a lot of respect for him because he trains. I don't class him as like a YouTuber fighting anymore. He's a proper boxer now. That's what he's doing. That's how he trains. I'm not overly bothered about that. But what he does outside the ring, you can't deny how great it's been.
Yeah, 100%.
So much respect for him. Another thing that was getting asked a lot on this Instagram live was, what happens if Sandy Ryan loses? And Eddie Hearn come back and he was like, guys, stop asking that because it's basically so negative. It's like, why don't you ask like what happens if she wins? Or credit to Sandy for taking the fight. This fight to me is so interesting because what's her record? It's like 4-1 now. Is this going to be her 6th fight?
Yeah, so she 3-1-0. So before
even
fight.
5th fight. So you're 5 fights in. And this is such a fight where she can either gain so much and potentially it's going to be life-changing because he mentioned a world title possibly after. Or I don't even know, I don't know what will happen if she loses type thing. I'm not saying, if she loses again, it's not the end of the world. She'll eventually come back. But short term, it's quite a funny situation to be in.
Yeah.
So fresh in the pro game.
Yeah, her team is so confident that she is that ability. It's one of those nights where on the night, either the night got to her, she just didn't expect what was coming at her from Farias. The fact that she hasn't got as much pro ring experience showed. There must be something in it that they knew that Sandy is more than capable. She just got it wrong on the night. That's all I can think is that their team are just confident.
I think they had the wrong game plan.
Yeah.
I think the team underestimated Erica. And I just feel like they had the wrong game plan. It's not the end of the world. We know how good Sandy is. I think the lack of pro experience showed in the later rounds where and not just her, and the team and the corner needed to change something up. And I felt like it was just the same and she wasn't winning these rounds. And this is where I think maybe, I don't know, a more experienced corner or something, maybe, in the sense of that's something that needed to be done during the fight because she's capable of doing it. Sandy is so good. Got to be one of the most talented prospects coming through. So it's not the end of the world she lost the fight, fair play. Like, she took a very good opponent. And again, people moan that she stepped up too quick. So, but yeah, for me, she wins this rematch. You can see in this camp, she looks very strong. She's been sparring with Terry Harper. That's got to help. You know, she's not underestimating Erica this time round. But yeah, for me, I just feel like the game plan was wrong, and it could have been altered throughout the fight. And I think that is lack of experience. But that's how you get experience. She's learnt now, hasn't she?
Yeah, and maybe like you said, they've all got to grow together. You know, the corner's going to grow from this experience too.
Yeah.
Hopefully the fighter corner can grow together, and hopefully they get it right this time. And we see Sandy getting, you know, some more rounds than she did last time. Really, a bit more closer, you know, because I felt like she definitely lost. So I'd like to actually see her.
Yeah, I think she knew she lost. You could tell. I watched the fight before actually, and you could see when they were standing there. You can always tell by a boxer their whole body language, and I think she knew she lost that night, and it wasn't particularly close either. Really, no. I think they just got it wrong on the night, but you know, fair play for taking that rematch. Again, is it the right? I mean, I do believe she's going to win, but this is what I mean with immediate rematches. It's taken so long to get this rematch. I would love to have seen her bounce back quite quickly and go, right, dust it off, get someone in, like, you know, like we've all criticised Caroline's opponent, but someone in like that, get your confidence back up, get her out with a body shot like Sandy's great at, and right now I'm going to have the rematch.
Yeah.
You know, but it is what it is. I do think she'll win. 100%. I don't think she'll make the same mistake twice, and it could be the best thing that's ever happened to her. A loss is, you know, can kick you up the arse, I suppose, can't it? And I don't think she'd ever underestimate an opponent again if that was the case.
Yeah.
But we'll see. And then, you know, she said Eddie Hearn mentioned pushing on for a world title possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to see it that quick, because Erica is a great fighter, but she's not world level anymore, in my opinion. So I would like to see probably a couple more fights, I think, before world title fights.
Yeah, definitely.
And
even if, you know, people say, you know, you don't want to be negative, but if she were to lose, I feel like as long as she sort of stepped up from a last fight and it's a bit closer, then I think that she can definitely then, you know, come back from that easier.
Yeah, I think if she did lose, worst case scenario, she loses, I think she has to take it on the chin and just, I think everyone, including Eddie Hearn, her team, everyone has to go, we have pushed you too quick, too soon, and it's been too much, and let's literally restart now. And we're going to go right back to the drawing board, right back to like day one, and just gradually work herself up, because it could be anything. It could be a mental side of confidence. I don't know why she lost that night, but it just wasn't a great night. So, you know, worst case scenario, it's not the end of the world, because she's still so fresh in the pro game. There's nothing wrong with having 2 losses on your record, but when you've only had a couple of wins, it doesn't start to look great. But I think either way, she will be a world champion. It's just, is she ready now, or is she going to be ready next year or in 18 months?
And I think that's what's frustrating, is because we know she's so good. You know, she's a special talent, I think. I like literally her in that class, that she's special. She could go on to do great things. And that's what's so frustrating with this, is that it's frustrating if it's the politics of it all as to who she fights, when, you know, it's definitely not. So
it was just a strange matchmaking, I think, to be so early on. I get they want to push it through, but I think that was an example of that was too much too soon. But she's probably learned so much from that fight, the whole experience. Probably I'm sure, you know, she felt quite low afterwards. So all of that, actually, as negative as it was at the time, I'm sure it's been sprung into a positive this camp. She hasn't been that active actually on social media and stuff like that. But I saw she was getting an interview today, and she looks in unbelievable shape as well. So it looks like it's probably been the best camp of her life, but every boxer says that.
One thing I wanted to say as well is I don't like the way people jump on her and saying she's got an ego, glad that she's been brought down a peg or two, because of her persona, of the way she comes in with the ring walks and the way that she holds herself at sort of the weigh-ins, the head-to-heads. But what people have to realise is that the boxing is an entertainment sport. This is her character. This is how she's coming across. This is who she wants to put across for the boxing. Doesn't mean that she's actually deep down this awful, arrogant person at all. And in fact, speaking to her, she to me, she doesn't come across, when I was speaking to her in my interview, at all like that.
Yeah.
This is just, there's Sandy and then there's boxing Sandy.
And that's how it should be.
Yeah, exactly. I think, you know, she is going in for a fight. She's not there to sit down and have a lovely time with,
Yeah.
So if she doesn't want to shake a hand before the fight, you know, it's fair enough. And like she said, fight, she's got all the respect in the world. They shake hands, you know, that's the way it should be, surely.
Yeah, it's like Clarissa Shields, just misunderstood. People don't get it.
Yeah.
You've got to be one way. When, like you say, they're not going to have afternoon tea together. They're about to get in the ring. You know, I think there should be a switch for fight week, because that shows as well how serious you're taking it. You know, you need to be in a different mind zone. Yeah, I think she's quite misunderstood. I also think, you know, obviously she's former Team GB. Obviously she didn't go to the Olympics, but I think all the former Team GBs and all the former Olympians, I find people quite bitter with them, where they want them to fail.
Yeah.
And you see a lot like, oh, look at the opportunities they've got. Well, they've worked their arse off in Team GB for God knows how many years. Whether they go to the Olympics or not, they have worked so hard. They've won Commonwealth, they've won Worlds, they've won all sorts. They've spent their entire life in the gym, sacrificed all their teenage years and early 20s in the gym. Of course they deserve to get that big platform. Sorry. That's the whole point, isn't it? And I genuinely think people can be quite bitter about that and love to see them then fail and go, oh, look, hype job. Well, just why? It's just, it baffles me. But I think that's part of the problem with Sandy. And then on top of that, she does have that, like you say, different persona. I love it. I love to see that side of people on fight week. I don't like it all the time. I don't like the trash talk that's not real and all of that, you know, in like the months leading up and stuff. But I love it on fight week when you see like that switch. It just, I think it hypes you up as a fan as well. When they switch, you get in it with them then, and you get hyped with them as well.
And I love her ring walks. I think they're great.
Yeah, they're so good.
Yeah.
She puts a lot of thought into them. I like it.
Yeah.
But again, that shows like the mental side as well. Like that's what she wants to do to get in the zone. And you've got to do whatever you can to get in the zone for that moment.
Exactly. It's one of these things where you can't do right for doing wrong.
Oh, no.
You're not in the zone, you're a fighter. You're too much of a fighter. Oh, it's too much. You're too arrogant. You're horrible. You know, what can you do? You can't.
I can't wait. One day there's going to be like the perfect fighter where they do everything right. Can you imagine? Never happens. It actually just makes me laugh though. I do love it. Start making notes on it now, because I'm just like, I remember what this person said the other week, and then they've like flipped and they've said like they contradict themselves, and I love it. It's the only reason I'm on Twitter. Another fight happening this weekend kind of went under the radar a bit. Do you think?
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like it's just been sort of announced late. Like I didn't know this fight was even happening until like about ago.
I'm excited for it though. It's actually, I feel like, I mean, Eva's, she's experienced, her record, if I've got it correctly, 19-1-1. Have I got that correctly?
Yeah.
Level opponent's not the same as Marlon, but I don't know. I think. Yeah. And I think it's going to be an enjoyable fight. So I think it's a shame it's not being promoted. I think Marlon will win. But I think it's going to be a really, like I say, an enjoyable fight. And then no one really knows, we're not talking about it. And I'm like, oh.
And it's on the, like, I suppose I'm still under zone. Oh, May.
But that's what I mean. It's like, I know, like you said, it was announced late, but I don't know. I'm always confused with certain things. Like say it's on the zone.
Mm.
And I think because it's the app, I think promotion's quite difficult at times. But I don't know whether I just don't think social media is getting used properly like it used to. I feel like there's not as much promotion and these interviews and stuff. I feel like with it being on the app, everything's on the app, if that makes sense.
Mm.
I don't know if then it's being like pumped out to every other platform.
I know
Because yeah, do you know, like, I don't think I explained that very well, but it's all in here. um, but I love the DAZN app because it is handy and you know, you can watch past fights and like they've got some like little docu-series and documentaries on it and it's all great. But then if you've not got the app or you're not on it all the time, then I feel like we're all missing out a little bit. I don't know.
But
Or
I
am I
do
not looking?
Golden Boys. So I
Yeah.
do think Golden Boy. They just don't have their fighters to the platform. And especially not why Lisa Whiteside's gone. You
Good
know,
decision.
they have been pushing. You
Mm.
know, she's got 3 belts at this weight. Where's the noise around her? She's co-main. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If she was over here on Matchroom, the noise around this fight.
Yeah, that's true. And it's a bit like, I mean, Golden Boy are like that, where it's like, well, we've put a woman fight on. I know. We've done it. What else do you want? We're not going to tell you that she's on. You'll just find out on the night, but we've put her on. And like, that's it. You've ticked the box and well, I don't know what else you want from us. And that's the impression like that you get at times. You get it with a couple of promotions. Like, I feel like, oh, well, you stop moaning, they're on. Like, you know, as if we should all be that grateful. Like, oh, thank you so much. Like, there's a female fight on. So it's a shame, but I think it'll be a great fight. I hope people tune in for it. But yeah, it's a shame. They're a funny one, like you say. I can see why Sinisa Estrada left. Great decision to go to Top Rank, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think Matchroom have missed out there. I think, but I would see why she would go to Top Rank. I think that's quite a good decision on her part.
it's a great decision because not only is she like going to be a star with Michaela because she's going to get more of the limelight because there's only the 2 of them.
Yeah,
ties to UK now, so they've got the best of both worlds. They're on this huge American platform that also is in the UK.
Yeah.
So.
And Sinisa is so likable, and she has done a lot of commentary lately. And you go on Twitter and everyone raves about her. She's so good. She speaks so well. She knows the game well. And I know obviously that Sky Sports worked a lot with getting Michaela Mayer over and doing a lot of the commentary. She's great on it as well. So I hope we can get Sinisa Estrada over quite a lot because the 2 of them, like I said, I love listening to both of them and they know the game so well. You know, when you get some of the boxers on and you're like, oh no. And not that they don't know the game. Of course they do, the professional boxers, but they're just not natural at it. It's not easy to commentate during fights, but some people are. Sinisa Estrada is natural.
I just hope that's sort of 10th of September because it's a top rank show, you know, with
yeah.
If she's at least find if she's on commentary, that'd be amazing.
That's a good shout, actually. Ooh, that would be good.
Thing is, she's a big signing.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense for her to not be there, would it? And you've got a couple of Americans, you might as well fly them all over now. While you're booking tickets, just add everyone on at this rate. But yeah, it's such a big show. You can't imagine her not being there in some shape or form. I hope she is. But yeah, that's a great decision on her part. It's very exciting. So we were saying at the beginning, like, not a lot's been going on. Obviously, more's happening, but a lot of drama with this going on. And I've been following it, obviously. Some people, though, like, I'm all for a debate. I love it. Everyone's got different opinions. It's what makes the world go round. Some people are so hardcore. Like, their opinion to them is factual and they get nasty with it. And it baffles me. So obviously this was called out as being Ebony's mandatory. That's correct, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I think Ebony said she's not interested in the fight. It's not a big fight for her. And then Shannon's come out and said, well, I'm mandatory. You've got however many days. And I think she wanted to have the fight by 30th of September.
Yeah, like September or something like that.
Yeah, which isn't close. They're too close, really, isn't it? Realistically, so that's not going to happen. And then the last I saw on Shannon's Twitter was it's going to like purse bids and all that. And so I've got mixed opinions on this. Would I like to see the fight? I actually wouldn't mind. I remember saying to you purely for the build-up. I don't know how bothered I am about the fight in the ring, but for the build-up, yeah, I wouldn't be upset if I saw that. I get the point of people going, well, it is a mandatory, she should fight it. So half of me is like, okay, yeah, that's what mandatories are for. But that isn't the way boxing works. I wish it did work more like that because I don't always like seeing people get to a mandatory position. And then I always use Dillian White as a great example because God love his soul. He was mandatory for like 300 years. So I do get it. Like, yes, she's mandatory. So in theory, that is Ebony's next fight. But people who are arguing that point are making out like Ebony Bridges is the first person to say, I'm not interested in my mandatory. I think 90% of boxers don't want to fight their mandatory because it's not a great fight.
Yeah.
It's just the mandatory. So she's not the first person to say it, but people are making out like she's the first to say. And she's not saying it because she's scared. I just don't think it's the fight she wants. It's just not, she's not going to get a lot from it, is she? So I get her side. I get why people want to see it. The fight for me is Ebony Bridges, Jamie Mitchell. That's the fight I want to see personally. I wouldn't be upset if it was O'Connell, but I also get everyone's side of, well, it's not a draw, it's not a big draw, and she'd have to come to the UK as well. And she's not got a big fan base here, so would it sell? And yeah, so I don't know. For me, I think people have been very harsh on Ebony. And I don't think they fully understand how it works. That's what surprises me is how many people were making out like she's the first to want to reject a mandatory.
I feel like because she's quite high profile, she's more in people's view. They see her and they see then she's got a mandatory, so then it all comes to light and then they all gun for that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas our fighters have mandatories for a long, long time and no one's putting the pressure on them and saying that they're dodging their mandatories. Leila Mccarter, who's been mandatory for Jessica for like how many years now? It's like
100.
Yeah, like it's literally about 4 years, I think. Something ridiculous. Like, I can understand when Jessica doesn't want the fight because she doesn't get a lot from it, but if you're saying that mandatories are important and it's sets a bad precedent if you don't do it and blah 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 and fairness, well, surely these same people saying that Ebony and Shannon should fight should be saying that Jessica and Leila should be fighting. And there are other examples that I could go into. Do you know what I mean?
We'd be here for hours, wouldn't we? There's so many examples, but this is boxing's problem. There is no consistency in the sport. It baffles me. I've never seen a sport that has such a lack of consistency with the rules and the policies and how it all works. They literally make it up as they go along. And then if you don't like a boxer, it's their fault. They're running, they're scared. And if you do like a boxer, it's just bullshit all the time, isn't it? At the end of the day, in an ideal world, mandatories should be mandatories. The problem with that, though, is there's so many different bloody organisations and belts. It just gets so confusing. You don't know who number one is. You don't really know who's, unless you've got undisputed, you don't know who the best is. When you've got someone undisputed, they've got 4 different mandatories. It's just stupid. So in an ideal world, I would love it to be when you're a mandatory, then you fight the champion. But that doesn't happen. And I also get why it doesn't, because it doesn't bring the money in, and it's a sport that survives on money. So it's one of them, isn't it? It can only bring in money if they're both getting the profile. And how did they get the profile if they didn't have the opportunity? But that's also not Ebony's problem. So don't hate on Ebony because Shannon doesn't have the profile to sell the fights. That's not Ebony's deal, is it? It's not her issue. Ebony wants to be in big fights for big money, for big rewards, as any boxer does. Like you said, Jessica McCaskill won't fight Leila for the exact same reason.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, bantamweight, there's so many champions there at the moment. You said it's quite a wide open division.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to see the champions facing the champions, because there's so many champions that could face each other. You know, I've got nothing against any of the other fighters. I still want to see other people get the opportunities. However, right now, I'd like to see someone fight it out for number one spot properly.
Yeah. And with the momentum women's boxing's got, that's what we need. We need this. We need the best fighting the best. We need more undisputed champions. Because that's something the men's boxing have struggled with because of the politics and the depth. We don't see undisputed champions enough.
Yeah.
But that's what we need in boxing. We need to know who is the best in the division.
Yeah.
Make it simple, especially for casual fans. I remember when I first started watching boxing, and I was like, how do you have like 15 champions in one division? And now they're adding like the regular champion and then the super champion and then another. Like, what on earth is going on? So
and right now they're introducing a lot of international titles in the women's that weren't there before.
Yeah.
And intercontinentals.
Yeah. I mean, it's a funny one, isn't it? I think no matter what, Ebony's always going to be in a good fight because of her style, but it doesn't sell that fight. And I know people are going to come to Australia. She's just bloody moved from Australia. So,
if I'm honest, like, is it going to be huge even in Australia, because the boxing scene over there isn't huge? You know, yeah, don't get me wrong, it'd be the biggest women's fight they've had ever probably over there, but compared to having it over here, it'd still be a lot bigger over here.
It wouldn't. If it was to have been big in Australia, Shannon would be a big star in Australia now. And she's not. And it's no disrespect to her. And I'm not saying she is a good fighter. And you know what? She could challenge for a world title. But if she's not selling now, then do you know what I mean? Like, then you're relying on Ebony to sell it. So then this is where it just all gets complicated, I feel. So then you've got Ebony, who is in the driver's seat because she's the one that holds the belt. So she'll have to come to the UK. But would Eddie Hearn want that fight? I don't think he's going to be that keen on it, because there's so many other fights to make in that division that it's unfortunate. I don't know. I think there's just, for me, there's no right or wrong answer. If she fights her, I'm not going to be upset about it. If she doesn't, I certainly won't be upset about it. I think the bigger issue is actually the lack of consistency in boxing.
Yeah.
And I think if you're going to have mandatories, and it has to be across the board, they have to fight them.
Yeah.
But there has to be a way to, I don't know. I don't even know the answer really, but there has to be something where when you get into this mandatory position, I'm not saying she hasn't earned it, but I just feel like people go from quite far down in the rankings and they have a lot of, like, you know, a couple of fights and then the mandatory. For instance, I've seen some of Katie Taylor's mandatories and I don't know how they've become mandatory, if you see what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I just feel like the system's so flawed. That's why mandatories aren't necessarily mandatories, because they're not there for the fights.
And then you get someone like Choi, who has held the belt. She's got like a record number of years she's held onto the belt.
She's surprised.
By anyone, she just literally fights whoever she pleases. So how is it to fight who she pleases? And yet, Ebony's a champion March and it's being said she has to fight a mandatory immediately, or else she's scared. It's like she's just fought the reigning champion in the bantamweight division in a very, you know, clear-cut way. Give her a juice, do you know what I mean?
I mean, the Choi thing will forever. It makes me laugh now. I actually used to get really annoyed about it, like it affected my life. What's her next opponent's record? Isn't it like, hasn't she had like 3 fights or something? Like,
ridiculous. Yeah, it's not. It shouldn't have been sanctioned for a world title fight, should it?
No, but this is what I mean, and this is what I'm trying to say. I'm not putting into words very well, but with the mandatory situation, this is what I mean. Like, surely Choi has a mandatory and it's not this girl she's fighting, because it's not a world title fight. So where's her mandatory? How's this random woman? I mean, I actually can't remember her name, but she's had like less than a handful of fights. How's she got here? The process is so shit. None of it makes sense. You can't come after one fighter, whether it's right or wrong. like I say, I would like people to fight the mandatories in a perfect world if the system was correct. Whether it's right or wrong, whether you think Ebony should fight her or not, don't hate on Ebony because it's the whole system that's the issue, not her.
Another example, Chantel Cameron. She was mandatory for Katie Taylor at lightweight. Yeah. Could not get that fight because, again, Katie didn't see the value in fighting her mandatory in Chantel. Yeah. So then Chantel became mandatory for Jessica McCaskill at super lightweight. And then Jessica didn't fight her because, again, didn't see the value in it, and then saw an opportunity to fight Cecilia Breakers for her belt. So took her elsewhere. So it's a case of, again, she's been ignored all that time as well, and she's been mandatory. So like you say, it's just not fair at any point, any division.
No, can't blame the boxer. You've got to blame the organisations. They're the problems, not Ebony Bridges, all on her own, has not done something completely different than boxing. It's boxing. It's the politics of it. It's how corrupt it is. It's all the issues with it to why mandatories don't get their opportunities, but it won't change, will it? So tough shit.
A lot of it on money, isn't it?
That's what I mean. It's just a business, isn't it? Your mandatory doesn't mean a lot. We've seen that. Chantel Cameron's the perfect example. And, you know, that was something else Eddie Hearn mentioned, that looks like it's getting close. But funny enough, for Chantel's belts, not Jessica's belts.
That's ridiculous. I'm sorry, but what a cop-out. Jessica McCaskill, because, like, she's blatantly... No, this screams that she feels like she's going to be beaten by Chantel Cameron, doesn't it? So she's not fair. That's what everyone's going to think, but, you know.
It's a win-win for Jessica. She gets a nice payday against Chantel. She gets beat, doesn't matter. She goes back to being undisputed. So no, sorry. Not for me, that.
Has had the raw deal every point in her career. And she stepped up and fought everyone she could. I can't wait until Chantel gets the opportunity to become undisputed at some point in her career, because she's capable of going multiple weights undisputed.
No one will fight her, though. No one will give. I don't get how she's getting this Jessica McCaskill fight. It's not undisputed. And I mean, Eddie Hearn has both fighters. Ian just needs to say, don't want to fight in Katie, so she's going to have to fight you for undisputed because she's due her time. Because I don't know. I mean, I think Chantel at this point will just fight anyone because she's had to wait that long, and you know. I hope she gets a good payday for it, if anything.
Yeah.
I don't get why it's not for undisputed. It might be. It might change by then, but I don't know how, if Jessica was to lose, how she can go back to just being undisputed.
Yeah. Well, she'd definitely drop down the pound list, that's for sure.
Someone's put boxing's come on leaps and bounds the last few years for both men's and women's boxing. Same goes to the UFC. Very true. UFC London was packed again. That actually just reminds me, though, when I was watching UFC London and it was packed, and I thought, we haven't seen that a lot in boxing. And I was thinking, why is that? And I think this is something we could talk about maybe another week, but it's very there's so many promotions and so many shows that I think it's diluted a little bit now. So, you know, you look at this weekend, there were shows all over the country, and as great as it is, there's only so many tickets you can sell, and whereas UFC is UFC. So it sells out, doesn't it? It looked packed. And I think with all these different promotions now in boxing, you think, I remember at first being excited, thinking, this is brilliant. But actually, I'm starting to think we're diluting the sport a little bit. Raven Chapman has announced fight news coming soon. Hate when fighters do that. I want to know exactly the date, who they're fighting. Yeah. No, yeah, she's. I know her and Steffi Bull are always great, especially Steffi Bull. I put in like little cryptic tweets, and sometimes I have to message her. And I'm like, "What's that?" Because I just can't wait.
This comment is so true. Underused by Queensbury so far, needs to be out regularly moving forward, 100%. And you've said this before, Sasha, yourself. You mean she got her opponent out so quickly that she needed to come out and fight again just a few weeks
ago?
Yeah, that day, pretty much. Because she didn't break a sweat. So therefore, she should be out. And she proved herself. You know, do you know what I mean? What more does she need to do? She's proved herself that she's going to be a fantastic female star for them. they're not using her. They need to get her
I
out.
find it worrying, in all honesty. I remember thinking when she signed, I was excited for it. You know, we obviously we're big fans of Raven.
Mm.
And I was excited for it. On paper, it's a good decision because she is the star of BT Boxing, of Frank Warren. But I do remember thinking, I feel like the first year will kind of show us how committed they are. And at the minute, I'm just not overly impressed with what they've done with her. She's just so good. She proved it that night. Like, she should have been out at least one more time by now. Do you know what I mean? She's that good. She's in a great division. It's got plenty to come through. Just get her fighting all the time this year, and then you could easily get her a world title next year. She's that good. But she's not fighting. She's not active, is she?
Because I'm sure when you interviewed her, she said that she's got a contract for about 4 times a year or something. So what are they going to do? Just suddenly squeeze the other 3?
Each weekend.
They need to get.
It was like, I think it was a 4-fight 3-year deal or something, if I remember correctly. Well, that's went to shit, hasn't it? You know, I know she was unlucky. I know one show got cancelled. Wasn't Jake Paul? He wasn't the first to do it. Frank Warren had done it prior.
Find it, you sure?
So obviously that got cancelled. She did get back on a little while later, but it was less than a minute. She's, you know, I don't know. Like, I find it quite frustrating, but I don't know. There could be this cunning plan that we're not aware of yet. But as it is to fans, I find it very frustrating that she's not been out since. It looks like, I think she looks like she might be fighting September, October. Will she get another one by the end of the year? She needs to, realistically, because she's that good that I genuinely believe she could get a world title next year. Definitely, especially in featherweight. If the champions will fight her, because that's one of the weights where, bar Amanda, some of them are a little bit like Choi and just like to hold on to. It's like, I've won the belt now. That'll do me. No one else is getting this. I won't fight. Yeah, and that's it. So I don't know. I definitely agree that she's being underused. Yeah, I find it a bit worrying because I don't know. I just feel like more should have happened by now. But he did get Nicola Adams a world title. He doesn't let people forget that. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell if it was the right decision or not. I don't want to be negative because, you know, she's good enough, but I hope it's not a case where, like, you know, look at Sinisa Estrada, where I know she's a world champion, but she wasn't getting what she deserved.
Yeah.
I really hope this isn't the same case, because Raven's one of them boxers that will be one of the most exciting in not just the featherweight division in general, and she'll be top pound for pound because of her style. She's so powerful, but technically looks good as well. She's got fast hands.
Fan favorite, totally.
Yeah, and she's a nice person, and you know what I mean. She's great. So she's definitely top. Very going to be, you know, you'd be looking easy top 5 pound for pound. So I'm sure she'll get opportunities eventually, but you don't know if will it be in Estrada case of, well, I eventually got my world title, but then that was kind of it. And you know, you want, look at what Matchroom are doing for Sky Nicholson, and they're the same weight.
Pushing her, making her star, which they should be doing to Raven, because she's the only one they've got. There should be such a buzz about her with them, that I'm hoping that it's just going to come. I'm hoping still, because obviously she is a star. She is going to have some spectacular nights, and so I'm hoping it's going to come naturally, that they're going to be excited about what they're going to build. Yeah.
So hopefully it's just being like a slow start, bump in the road, and then it gets taken over. But we will see. But fingers crossed. Before we go, Sandy Ryan prediction: who wins, how, and why?
Sandy Ryan and points.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I don't know if she might get the knockout.
Yeah, I mean, she probably wants to.
Yeah, I feel like she'll be nervy getting it to a points decision. I don't know. She just, the shape she's in, she looks like a different animal. Like, I mean, she's always in great shape, by the way, but she just, I don't know, in her sparrings, obviously, I think everything's just worked for her, I reckon. And she's got confidence in herself. I think she'll come out and prove to everyone who said, or who's been going, oh, what happens if she loses again? I actually think she could get her out in the first half of the fight and just really say, well, I had a shit night last time, but this is how good I am.
I mean, she's more than capable. That power, and we've seen it, haven't we?
Yeah.
Those, body shot KO she did in Italy was pretty spectacular.
You could hear that, couldn't you?
Yeah.
That hurt. It hurt me sitting watching it. I tell you. So yeah, I definitely think she'll get the win, but I've got a feeling we could see first half stoppage. I'm not going to go with the round because I always get it wrong.
No, I want the round. The second.
Round 4 or 5. 4 or 5. She gets the win. But yeah, I hope she does to just prove everyone that, we can stop talking shit about her now and just let her get on with it. So yeah, but I'm looking forward to that. So that is this Saturday.
Yeah.
In Sheffield. I nearly forgot, and I'm going to it. I will be there. I was thinking I don't know where I'm driving to. I'll be there, ringside coverage, hopefully seeing Sandy get the win. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed for her.
Right. It's been a pleasure as always. I reckon next week's going to be very busy because Eddie Hearn was saying there should be this week announcements. Fingers crossed we're going to have a lot of cards being announced. We'll see if Terry Harper, Hannah Rankin's going to finally be announced.
Yeah. On what platform? Because there's still speculation about the 10th of September. No. Neither on promotion.
No.
Yeah.
I'm going to sound really selfish now. I don't want it to be because obviously I'm away, aren't I? So I'm already pissed off that I am missing the other fights that I don't want. No. And I actually messaged Steffi Ball when this was all being rumoured, and I said, he must have been like, I'm not bothered. But I was like, I booked a holiday. When's it likely to be? And he said the end of September, beginning of October.
Oh, There we go then. That's an exclusive.
I don't know if I was meant to say that. No, I think that was ages ago he said that. And the fact that it's not being announced yet. I think Maxi Hughes as well do a fight, so I don't know if they might be on the same card.
There's rumours to be Nottingham, isn't there, with Lee Wood fighting. That'd be on the same card as Lee Wood.
Oh yeah, I love Lee Wood as well. That'd be good. Would make sense. I think Terry fought there last time, actually, didn't she, in Nottingham?
There we go. Yes, I think
she
you're
did.
right.
She did.
Miles away from her anyway.
Yeah, no. So, I just don't see that at all because I say they're all different. I know we've got Alicia Baumgardner, but that fight made sense for Matchroom. So yeah, I don't see it being on that card. There's rumours Tasha Jonas could be on the card.
Oh, really?
So I presume she would be on the September 3rd in Liverpool. Beefy's fighting Liam Smith. Like him as well. That'll be nice. But she wasn't on the poster, and I just feel like she would be because I remember thinking, well, if she fights in Liverpool, she'll either be headline if it was Hannah Rankin, possibly, or she would definitely be co-headline. The fact that nothing's been announced, I find a bit odd. The other thing that worries me, if she is fighting September 3rd, I don't think it's going to be a big super fight because I just think that would be announced by now. And that's what I mean with the undercard of September 10th.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see any more like super fights on it because we would know by now. They're going to be prospects on.
Even if she can't for some reason get a fight for then, she'll definitely be there commentating, doing something ringside because she's their sort of poster girl, isn't she, for Sky Sports? So
but she's another one that's not being as active as I think she should be.
And
I know people go, and I definitely think it was the right decision for her to leave Matchroom.
Yeah.
I don't think Matchroom were asked about it. They weren't putting the effort in. I say that actually, she did get title fights, but I don't know. There was always just something. Remember that big thing when she was meant to fight in Liverpool and then she couldn't get the opponents and couldn't. I just felt like, yeah, she got title fights, but it was very much like she was more doing them a favor type thing. Do you know what I mean? Because it was lockdown and opponents, stuff like that. So I think she made the right decision to leave, but she always struggles to get opponents. This Hannah Rankin one was practically made prior to Hannah's fight, and difficulties were brought up. And I always wonder, why is it always so difficult for these fights to be made? It's very interesting. And obviously, I know Ben Shalom come out and said he offered Hannah 6 figures.
Oh, wow. Is that what he said?
So she fucking should be offered 6 figures. She's got 2 belts. Like, when, like, people go, Hannah Rankin, yeah, she's a two-time world champion.
Headlining her own show in Glasgow.
Yeah. So when Ben Shalom was like, well, I offered the 6 figures. Well, yeah, I should imagine so, young man. So, but I know, as you know, Matchroom obviously are huge supporters of Terry. So if Terry wants that fight, I think they would be quite happy to continue to outbid Sky. But to make out like, oh, we've done Hannah a favor by offering her 6 figures. She's a world champion. I don't know why a world champion would ever be offered less than. And I know it happens, but I don't understand why a world champion would be offered. I'll be offered a 10 grand, but funny enough, she said no. So
yeah,
I don't get it. But I reckon that'll be announced this week on top with a few others. But I think that'll be the big one.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that Natasha Jonas gets a fight as well. And
I think she'll have an announcement.
It's going to be great because what an end of the year we're going to have with all these fights.
Thank God, because last month there wasn't enough going on. So I was upset. So
now you can't go now.
I know. Oh, outrageous. Right. Been a pleasure as always. Back next week, probably Monday night.
Yeah.
Monday night with hopefully some big news, some big fights. We'll see.
Yeah. And then we can talk about Sheffield.
Yes.
And Marlon.
And Marlon, yeah. So, and probably some more drama will happen.
I'm sure. There's always some sort of Twitter beef to talk about as well.
Yeah, we'll get that started. If not, we'll create it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Right. See you all next week.
See ya.